have Highwoods regular city council meeting for Tuesday, July 5th, 2016. It's roughly 7:40. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please, Candy.
Alderman Grice.
Here.
Fallberg.
Here.
Fetterman.
Here.
Fiore.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Slavin.
Here.
If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So for this evening's meeting, we have no minutes right now. There are no appointments. We still do have an opening on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I do have someone who's actually going to be applying for that, so that's good. And then moving right along, appointments, none. Approval and warrant list. We did go through that in the pre-session. I don't think we had any changes, did we? More questions, anything else? So if I can get a motion to approve the bills, please.
So moved.
Second.
Alderman Peterson? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Fetterman.
Yes.
Fallberg.
Yes.
Grice.
Yes.
Fiore.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Slavin.
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is public input for items not on the agenda. So if anyone would like to speak to the council at this time, please come forward.
It's been a while since we had some.
We're going to have to take numbers. There's so many people here this evening. Just state your name and that's it, right? No address anymore.
Correct.
I'm Michael Summer. I'm the owner of 808 and 810 Euclid Court. We're coming to address the fact that no parking in the cul-de-sac signs were put up recently, and we didn't get any written notice. I had a brief discussion with Andy Peterson about that, and he said to come in. It's erased 9 spots on the cul-de-sac. That is a problem for many residents that have to park in the morning to move their cars out so other cars can get out of their parking spots. If workers need to come and work on the apartments, there's nowhere to park if they can't park in the driveways for some of them.
Okay. So real briefly, I think we were informed that there was a parking issue in that area, that there was over parking, and that at times in the cul-de-sac itself, there was too deep at times parking there, and that it had prohibited a lot of the traffic going around, and that overnight parking was happening in that area. So for that reason, we looked at first the straightaway, and then I think it was council's opinion that if we eliminated parking on the straightaway itself on Euclid Court, the court itself would be backlogged with people parking there. For that reason, we then said, okay, eliminate parking on the cul-de-sac and have people park on Euclid. So that was our logic. So where did we go wrong?
There's only about 4 spots on Euclid Avenue. The straightaway is a bottleneck. Absolutely, there are problems with people who do not listen, but throughout Highwood, there's a problem with people who don't listen to do not park on this side. There's a problem on Ashland, there's a problem on Euclid Court and Euclid Avenue. You see it a lot in the city.
Okay.
I call when I can just to let the cops know that there's a car on the wrong street because it's dangerous and people can't get through. On Euclid Court, absolutely, I don't support illegal parking ever. I know in the past when it was allowed, we would always call. If we had a guest overnight that had a car that had to be in front of the house, we would always call for the overnight parking. If there was a ticket, we would pay it, or if I forgot, if it was my car that just got left at the bottom. It's all fair. Like, we knew the rules for years. Most of the cars try to park in their driveways.
They gave some assistance coming your way right now.
Hi. Tag, he's it. I'm Phyllis Summer, and I'm his wife. I just wanted to, you asked the question really interestingly, Charlie. You said, where did we go wrong? Aside from the lack of
posting.
notification for us, I think that thinking that, so the straightaway, there were no parking signs at all prior to this. And then when you put the straightaway up, it said no parking on this side and no parking in the cul-de-sac. But I think that maybe an incremental attempt at this, if putting up a sign that says no parking on this side worked, then you didn't need to eliminate the parking in the cul-de-sac. Do you follow my logic? You can't tell me which one's going to fix whatever problem there is until you try both things.
Do you see a problem there?
I
Is there a
do.
parking
I believe
problem?
that the straightaway needed a sign on one side or the other that said no parking this side, because people would typically park on both sides, and it's a tight straightaway.
Right.
I will say that we've owned the property for a little over 10 years now, and lived in the property for almost all that time. We've only been out of it for about 6 months, and I can think of on maybe 2 or 3 occasions where I saw double deep parking in there. And most of the time, like on a holiday or when people were having a big party. And most of the time then there were lots of people playing in the street, which is also what happens. So I think that that's an inflated statistic to say that that's a regular occurrence in the cul-de-sac. In fact, most of the time it's residents who are, as Michael said, moving their cars, or guests of residents coming to visit and, parking briefly, delivery people, service people, different kinds of purposes of that. Most of the driveways in the area are either on some of the houses don't have accessible driveways or behind. So if you a couple of the homes, if you need to come and enter the front door of that home and you're a guest, a delivery person or whatever, you wouldn't even realize that they had a driveway. So you would have to park in the street. And several of the driveways are very steep, so it would be challenging to park. You might not think to park in that driveway if you're a visiting anyone. The other problem or challenge is that if you park on Euclid Avenue, there's actually a hill it goes down into the cul-de-sac as a hill. So it's a fairly lengthy walk for anyone who would need to park their car farther away. So it's definitely, I think, a burden on the residents of the community.
Do you see any overnight parking that takes place in that area?
Not on a regular basis. People park their cars there when we did it. I mean, I actually don't think that I knew that the ordinance had changed about overnight parking, because we typically would, as I think we said earlier, we would call in, you'd say, oh, we have a guest, and we'd call the police and we'd say, here's the license plate, and they'd say fine. And as Michael said, sometimes we forgot, and then we'd pay our ticket.
We've all done that.
But I wouldn't say that was a regular problematic occurrence that caused the neighborhood to even feel like there were a lot of strangers in it. If you really want to think about the community, we really felt like most of the cars in the neighborhood were fully identifiable as people who lived there, and sometimes parked on the street and sometimes parked in their driveway, and we could tell people would be rearranging a little bit, and it never felt like a problem.
So there's not, the impression that we were given that there was a strain in that area of number of cars.
I mean, I actually always felt like people were very respectful. No one ever parked in front of the bottom of our driveway, I feel like we kept an eye on it. And I never really saw anyone parking in front of my driveway or any other driveway. People were really careful. So I actually didn't. I believe that if you would have heard from me, if I had felt that it had been a problem, and after all these years of living there, that was never a challenge of that neighborhood.
Okay. Any questions?
I guess my one question would be, what is the biggest negative impact to you personally with the change? How has it negatively impacted you?
Sure. Well, so it's a property that so our house that we own and now we rent to 2 of our friends. We go there all the time, and so now tag. You want to, yeah, okay, so she'll talk. Well, hold on. We go there all the time, and it doesn't give anyone an opportunity to park in any place other than in the driveway and especially our driveway, which is a shared driveway. So you're impacting, it's 4 homes that share one driveway. And so in order to park, there's a negotiation and all those things, they're very lovely people, and it happens all the time. Okay, her turn.
Hi, my name is Trisha Goldfarb, and I'm a current resident renting from the Summers. I live at 808, and I lived in 808 for about a year ago. I lived there for a year and a half. There were no parking issues while I was there, and I've just recently returned about 6 weeks ago when all of a sudden these signs went up. I have no way of a visitor to come and park. I've had people come and paint at my unit, and they had no place to put their vehicles or to bring in their equipment to paint. And, so that's somewhat of a hardship, because even if I were to have family over, I have no place to put them. That's the inconvenience that I see at this point of time.
Okay. So, I think the thing that I did forget was that it was duplex, I'm saying it's two duplexes sharing one driveway as opposed to one duplex holding each house.
And every home is a duplex. So our one driveway is 8 cars with 6 AmeriCorps students renting from the Schuler Foundation or living there with the Schuler Foundation. Next door, you have 4 cars next door to that. The Moscone property driveways out to Euclid Avenue. You have the Pascientinis, and then you have the 2 houses next to them, which are probably 4 to 6 cars each. One has a long driveway.
So a concern that we as a city are constantly addressing is an overcrowding issue. Is it not so much an overcrowding issue as it is just society having more cars or older residents?
I think society has more cars. I would say if you looked at the dates of your complaints, did they fall on a holiday? Or do they fall close to a holiday where someone is having a celebration, like figuring out the reason? Because I know instances where, yes, someone was rude and double parked. We hate that also. Like, we know that's dangerous. We know that's not good for the cul-de-sac. It's not good for the community. But usually everyone was, like Phyllis said, was very respectful. And just people following the rules of parking and, if ever emergency vehicles need to be in, everyone would clear out. Like, clearly they always had the priority. But there's only those certain times when people would have celebrations that you would find parking really, really stressed. Otherwise, it goes to a normal level where you have maybe 4 cars on the street during the day at any given time. We were talking briefly about the landscapers stress the parking if they park on the wrong side, or if someone does double and then you can't get through. Like, that often was a problem even for us.
So the straightaway that was actually a good solution,
I
but
think that was the primary.
That was
at least for me.
yeah.
The cul-de-sac was a different piece, but the straightaway itself, I mean, emergency vehicle approachability is always paramount. The cul-de-sac,
I think at the last minute we went with it. I think Scott said, don't do it, and we said, no, we want to see what happens with, sorry about that.
Yeah, and just as a comment that I think bears mentioning,
He was
so
stern.
the overnight parking prohibition has been in place at least, so long as I've been serving, 5 years. I imagine it was quite a bit before then. It just simply hasn't been enforced. We had a very flexible policy that we were happy to make available. The unfortunate problem is that it was being abused.
And we're only familiar with our light use.
Right.
Yeah, right,
Throughout
right.
the community largely being abused. And there's safety concerns and other concerns in terms of practical, employment, utilization of the limited police resources we have. So, I don't know, within the past month or so, we directed city staff to tighten up the policy a bit. So that's where that came from. I can just speak for myself, but I mean, I'm open-minded to reconsidering the cul-de-sac piece. I think for emergency vehicle approachability onto Euclid Avenue or off of, on the straightaway, I think we definitely want to prohibit parking on one side of the street.
Darn you, Scott.
But I'm open-minded to the cul-de-sac piece.
So I think there's a couple issues that I think we need to look at for ourselves. One, we'll take a look at the cul-de-sac. Obviously, nothing can happen tonight because it's not on the agenda. But I think also is communication. How do we better communicate with our neighbors that, hey, we're changing tomorrow, or we're changing in 2 weeks, or we're changing in a month?
Because Andy's great with his communication via email, but I didn't even see it there. And that was a big point last time when the signs got taken down, that there was no notification, and that just wasn't allowed.
Right.
Because we would have been in the conversation, Andy brought up a subject of slumlord issues. I never knew it was an issue, and was like, I'm not one of those. So all of a sudden it was in the conversation, and I was like, I didn't know it was an issue in a town that's very beloved to me, that we, again, if we had more space, we would not have room.
We've done a good job hiding it then, haven't we?
Well, so all of a sudden it was this issue, and I didn't think our street had that issue, where I know almost everyone who's an owner. where usually I'm calling the people who are partying behind us and lighting fireworks. Like, if you look on the register, we're usually the ones who call in when there was an issue that was breaking ordinances, be it sound.
Can I make a suggestion? Because part of some of the issues and part of some of the complaints we got were on the right side of the cul-de-sac as well. As you come down,
west
because the
side.
driveways are tighter and closer together. Even looking at it right now on screen, because you have to think of putting cars there.
I mean,
You need to have, I mean, on the left side, as you're coming back around, has more space for parking. So you're talking about 9 spots, but technically, you're talking, it's just a couple more, 3 or 4 more spots. It seems that would,
Well, I think,
Are you referring to the
I think the cul-de-sac.
or to the cul-de-sac.
The cul-de-sac in general, there's 1 to 2 spots per home in front. Like, if you park really well, you can park 2 spots in front of us. You can park 1 spot.
That would be really, I think that would be pushing it to a point.
And again, it's so rarely that you're pushing it, but not even able to fit 1. I think your high traffic pattern is usually occurring when someone is having an event. I don't think it's occurring on a weekly basis.
I think, so my opinion would be, looking at this, if I were coming down, instead of saying, okay, literally for the whole cul-de-sac, on the right-hand side, you'd have parking, as I said, on the left-hand side of the cul-de-sac going all the way up on the left-hand side. So you maintain, so half the street has parking, half the street does not.
oh,
There's
the
no
cul-
parking
including
on
the cul-de-sac.
Including the cul-de-sac, so you come up and you still have on the right-hand side that there's no parking.
So-
Once you hit, so you have yellow marks on the street. And then you come around, then you have parking, because you do have lots, I mean, in between the driveways, you have space, but I could see you coming in between
Isn't
what's
that what,
tight.
trying to contemplate issues with people coming out of their driveways?
And also, the fact, how many parking spots do you need, additional parking spots on the street? So you're talking about some cars
It's usually-
moving in and out. You're
It's
talking-
usually 1 per house. Like I'm saying, if you have a high traffic pattern that's going to cause a complaint like this, it's usually because there's a family event, which could be different. Again, if there's no notification, they're not going to know if you need them to tell you there's going to be a family event, so there's special circumstance. But if there's no special.
I think on a family event, if you call the police and let them know, that's probably not going to work. Because once you have no parking signs, that's it.
Yeah, you can't
So once-
deviate from that one.
You can't, it's true.
So hang on, so when you take a right, you got Mosconi's property, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
there's
so-
no parking on that side.
On that side, okay? So when you come around, and then and Shepherd's over here, right? On the west
On the
side.
west side.
They're on the west side. So
They go Sheffer,
Shepherd,
Pagentini.
So I need to give you a diagram, but
We have diagrams.
Yeah.
what's that?
Okay, go ahead, though.
in front of our property, there's a perfectly nice place to park there. I think that it's certainly a laudable idea, but a little bit challenging to have only half of the cul-de-sac have parking and not the other half without I understand what you're saying, but so you'd have to be very specific about the dividing, and you'd have to paint.
Yeah, it has to be-
So-
Yeah, just, you
Yeah.
can put stripes down it to designate those 4 spots that maybe.
I really don't like
But-
the idea of painting or striping, especially in a circumstance where you might consider changing that in the future, because that's not
Good point.
easy to take off.
I'm going to still continue to maintain, and I know that I'm not on the council, so I'll just keep talking though till you stop me, that the straightaway really is the problem, and that the cul-de-sac really isn't. And as a longtime resident of that cul-de-sac, I will tell you, it really isn't a problem, and the straightaway really is. And it's a problem when people park on both sides. It's a problem when the landscapers come and park. There are many, many times when the straightaway is a problem. Absolutely. I'm concerned about that, and always have been. And so I really appreciate the no parking on one side of it, which had never really been there or enforced. But the cul-de-sac,
Would you have the similar concern that if you did allow the parking in the cul-de-sac and you acknowledge that there's been a problem on the straight, all you would do is encourage a
Cul-de-sac issue.
significant parking problem potentially in the cul-de-sac? You are pushing the problem.
possibly, but I will also say that the straightaway isn't a problem every single day. But when it is if once a week somebody parks incorrectly in the straightaway, for that day, we're all in danger, right? So I wouldn't even have come to you and said, this is a problem, you should do something about it. It was annoying and probably dangerous for us, but probably on a once a week basis. So I don't think that I still don't think that you're talking about enough cars that are going to suddenly fill up the cul-de-sac in some miraculous way. I still think that that the people who were parking on the double sides are usually not residents. They are usually guests, or they are service people or whatever. That's a different situation. So I don't think that one will cause a problem in the other. I don't think so.
How would that problem manifest itself? So if it did, so I'm following your train of thought. So we simply divert these cars that were parking on both sides of the street, on the straightaway, into the cul-de-sac, and that becomes problematic for residents how? With cars parking 2x2 or 3x3, whatever, and/or parking in front of driveways, or making it.
That was the concern, that if we took the straightaway and left it in the cul-de-sac, they would, and we were under the impression that was always on the straightaway. And if it's only one car, it won't make an impact on this cul-de-sac.
Right. Even two cars parked incorrectly on the straightaway is a problem. We know it, but it's not a.
Right.
It's not epidemic.
It's not a. You're right. It's not an epidemic. It's not a consistent issue, I would say, at all.
You wanted to add something?
Yes, I wanted to add something. When I was in college, I had an automobile, and I went to the University of Illinois, where you had no parking on the streets in Urbana. And there was a rule that you had to leave, I think it was 3 feet from any driveway or any thoroughway to be able to legally park. So that you had residents that, because I again lived in Urbana, that were able to get in and out of their driveways. So that, or if it was a business, that they had plenty of space to get in and out as well. So that, making that as a suggestion, given the space that you see here, that it might not necessarily be lines that we paint, but maybe some kind of ordinance that you have to leave X amount of room on either side of your car, in front of a driveway or in back of a driveway.
Right. Good suggestion. I think it's just the practicality then of enforcing.
It's a tough one.
I'm more inclined to just to be open-minded to opening up parking in the cul-de-sac, as much as I hate to change parking regulations back and forth within a matter of weeks. I'm open to that, and then we monitor it. We count on the residents to tell us if it's being abused, and if so, then we take corrective action.
Obviously, we can't.
I'm not open to the overnight parking, just to be clear again.
So we're not.
That's not on our agenda.
Right.
That's right. Thank you.
We're not, right.
That's a
It's
whole
not-
Well, let's do this. We'll.
Totally understand and support that. And again, from our small world, like literally the bubble of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
We have no idea how much else you're dealing with and how much
Problem.
abuse.
So you're saying there's no real true issue that you've seen on the cul-de-sac that would require us to prevent all parking on? You're saying that there's not an issue on the cul-de-sac? Just.
I would like to say yes, there's no issue on the cul-de-sac, and in fact, putting the no parking signs on
Creates
actually
another issue.
creates
Right.
the issue.
So let's do this. We can't take it, but let's bring it, if you would put that back on the agenda for 2 weeks.
Do you need us here?
Well, we heard your argument.
Yeah, I don't know that you.
I don't think so. It wouldn't hurt, but no, don't. Okay.
I'll still be here.
So that's,
We know where you stand clearly.
right.
You don't want parking on the cul-de-sac, right?
All right, we're
Every
good.
other
That's what I'm
Thursday,
All
every
right.
other Thursday on the cul-de-sac only.
I think we're good. So we'll bring that back in 2 weeks. I think the other problem we do need to somehow shore up how we communicate with people when we do put signs up, or take signs down, both ways. Signs down is probably easier, but putting signs up is more
Traffic
impactful.
patterns, parking regulations.
We had known it in
If
advance.
we had known, we would have been there and discussed what we went through last time and saved the vote.
Yep.
Are you on the city's email list? And the
If you're on the city email list, you'd get the agenda.
agendas? But not saying that, but also texting and all that kind of good stuff is good.
You could do a better job.
Oh, you do get text, then you're on it.
Traffic patterns or parking regulations.
Okay.
Probably.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, and it'll be on in 2 weeks. Okay. Let's see, mayor's report, nothing at this time. I would like to thank Highland Park for having myself at the 4th of July parade. It was very, very enjoyable, beautiful weather. Anything from committee reports? Do we have any events or anything you want to say anything about at this time? Okay. Treasurer's report. We didn't get a treasurer's report last month, did we? Scott, do we get a treasurer's report sooner than later? We didn't get one last month.
Yes, we will. I apologize. We'll get one on for the next meeting.
Okay. Then we'll jump to new business. 12.1, consideration of a resolution approving and accepting an appearance review committee recommendation regarding a curbside cafe patio mural, oh no, just patio, at 552 Sheridan Road, the Art of Beer.
I think you said resolution.
Did I not say resolution?
Resolution.
Restitution? Resolution. If I get a motion for 12.1.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second.
Don't you have to amend something?
Anything we need to amend on that one?
Nope.
Oh, yes, we do.
mural.
September to November
That's
1st.
12.2.
Yeah, no.
That's the next one.
Oh, that's the next
I would
one.
just say
Okay.
amend the word mural, and just cafe.
He read that the right way.
Oh,
I took out the word mural. Okay, it's a resolution.
I'll make
so we-
that what's that? I made a motion, yeah.
You don't need to amend it, you're good. That's the next one you amend. It's a resolution. Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next one is the ordinance, though. We have a consideration of an ordinance amending the existing curbside cafe ordinance in the city of Highwood to allow bars to apply for a curbside cafe.
I'll waive first reading and amend to add, change the date from September 30th to November 1st.
Correct.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Now, this will be our first, is that correct, of the curbside cafes?
Yeah.
Of 3 possible licensures. Motion and second, roll call, please.
Alderman Fahlberg,
Yes.
Fetterman,
Yes.
Fiore,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Slavin,
Aye.
Grice.
Yes.
That motion passes. 12.3 is a motion authorizing the city manager to accept a quote from Morrow Sewer Construction, Inc., to repair collapsing storm and sanitary structures in the amount not to exceed $29,650.
And this item will need to waive competitive bidding as well.
Okay.
I'll make that motion to waive competitive bidding and approve.
Second.
And do you want to add, subject to attorney review of a contract
That's correct.
as well? Can you
I'll
add
amend my motion.
Does a
Not my
second,
emotion, but just my motion.
will the second
We'll have some
amend the second?
Second.
Yes. Okay, motion and a second motion, and a first, second. I guess we should do a roll call, because it's over
Spending money.
money.
Alderman Slavin,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Fiore,
Aye.
Fetterman,
Yes.
Fahlberg,
Yes.
Grice.
Yes.
Still make me laugh.
Okay. Next is a consideration of a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the city of Highwood and the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council on a collective bargaining agreement effective July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2021. If I get a motion for that, please.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second, and congratulations to Scott
Great job.
Horn and the was it?
Oh, could we change something in that? No, just kidding.
This is wonderful. I can't remember last time we had a contract in hand 4 days after the.
And no retro.
No retro.
Right? No retro. It is, right? No retro?
Yeah, you know what? I think,
First time.
First.
Scott, that's a compliment to you working with the police.
Put
Thank
that
you
as a
very
bullet
much.
point on your resume.
We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call, please.
Alderman Peterson,
Aye.
Fiore,
Aye.
Fetterman,
Yes.
Fahlberg,
Yes.
Grice,
Yes.
Slavin.
Aye.
And the chief as well, thank him as well. 12.5, consideration of an ordinance authorizing a redevelopment agreement between the city of Highwood and Lorenzo DeVito for the property at 107 Highwood Avenue. comprising of a part of the downtown TIF redevelopment project area of the city of Highwood. If I get a motion for that, please.
I'll make,
motion.
wait first reading?
And wait, first reading?
Correct.
And you'll be the second?
Sure.
Okay, so we do need to have a discussion with him too, we'll bring that back. Scott and I will, in next meeting. See how that goes.
You could approve this tonight with the direction to
Yeah, let's
the
add,
mayor
just change that to
and
your,
the
do you want to change
manager.
your amendment, your motion, so we can,
Motion to approve
See each other now better?
with direction to the city mayor and manager to negotiate the timing of the first payment.
Per his direction. I'll amend the
Second.
motion.
Okay. Motion second, Scott, you clear on that? We're clear on that? Okay, good. Roll call, please.
Alderman Grace,
Yes.
Wahlberg,
yes.
Fetterman.
Yes.
Fiore,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Slavin.
Okay, that concludes the new business this evening. We have no executive session this evening. Motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.